County Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order. If you will, at this time, if you'll stand with me, we'll have a prayer and a pledge of allegiance. Our Father, we're thankful to you for this day. We're thankful to you for the blessings that we have, the blessings of living in this county. And Father, we're thankful for all that make this a great place to live. The citizens, our elected officials, our first responders. We're thankful for our county staff that has put so much effort in putting this meeting together. Now, Father, we just pray that, as I always say, I pray that we will do our part in showing respect to each other and honor you in what we say and do. We pray all this now in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, at this time I'll call roll. Brandon Bias, Robert Davis, Scott Schamberger, here. Michael Mullick, here. Greg Seibert,
Here.
Jamie Stradiger, Glenn Seal, Diane Burnett, here. Michael Fletcher, here. George Waters, here. Reed Key. And we have a quorum, which is good. All right, at this time, we will, you've all were sent a copy of the minutes of our November 7th work session and regular meeting minutes. If there are no corrections to those, comments on them, I'll entertain a motion that both of those be approved.
So moved.
Mr. Seibert has made the motion that we approve both minutes. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
George Waters, second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, minutes are approved. Mr. King, are you going to fill in? Well, Mr. King is filling in for our director, Jay Dixon, tonight. So do you want to give a startup for our meeting?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, and welcome everyone. Mr. Chairman, we'll begin by going over our public hearing guidelines. And the chairman, for our citizens with us here today, the chairman will go over more specific instructions as we start reviewing the various cases. And when a public hearing is called and the chairman invites you to the podium, citizens who are signed up to speak, you'll speak at the podium in the center of the room, right in front of the chairman. And what we ask is to please speak directly into the microphone. This meeting is recorded. It is also live streaming on the internet via YouTube Live, as well as other social media platforms. And so please speak directly into the microphone so you can be heard clearly, but also if we have to prepare a transcript of this meeting, that we have everyone's comments very clearly. And also the chairman will, give, if you're representing a group, the chairman may grant you 5 minutes in lieu of the normal 3 minutes to speak. If you are speaking on behalf of a group, please identify that with the chairman. But otherwise, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. When the county staff member presenter is presenting each case, and once the public hearing begins, they will put a timer that you'll see on screen. After the end of either 3 or 5 minutes, it will sound. You will see 2 different types of cases before you today. The factors on screen are for zoning changes, and you see there are 11 factors, and the staff member presenting the zoning change will explain each of those factors. Understand the difference between a zoning consideration and a subdivision. The zoning changes and zoning cases apply to these criteria. The staff will review it in greater detail. When we get to the portion of the meeting where we are discussing subdivisions, subdivisions are objective. If the subdivision meets the requirements of the county regulations, as you see on screen, the excerpt from a legal case, the Planning Commission is obligated to approve the subdivision. The purpose of this meeting is to identify, are there any deficiencies with an application? So with that, Mr. Chairman, I will turn it back over to you to begin cases.
Okay. We have 2 different types of agenda items here. We'll start with what we call our consent agenda items. These are items that if no one in the public says so, I'm getting ready to read the list, and when I call it out, if no one is here to speak in objection to it, then we'll group them all together and the Planning Commission will approve them all at one time. So just be clear, when I call it out, if you're here to speak in objection to it, raise your hand. You won't speak at this time. I'll give you the opportunity a little bit later. But right now, we're just going to go through each item. I'll call it out. You let us know. The first two items are not public hearings, so let me go to the first one is SFP 24-18, which is Two Lakes Phase 1. Is that a public hearing? No. I'm sorry. All right, and there's three that aren't public hearings. All right, now, CSP 2431, which is Vertical Bridge. This is a cell tower out at the intersection of Expressway and I-10. Anybody here to speak in opposition to this item? Okay. And I think there is on this next item, the SC 24-53 Phillipsville Knoll subdivision. I think I saw we had several that signed up in opposition to this. Okay, we'll take that off the agenda, off the consent, and when we bring it back up, I'll call you folks back up. All right, the next item is SC 24-55. This is the re-subdivision of Lot 1 of T and K subdivision. This is a preliminary final plat for a two-lot subdivision on Spivey Road, Glass and Spivey Road. Anybody here in opposition to that item? Okay, the next one is SPP 24-29, Madeline's Way. This is a preliminary plat approval for a three-lot subdivision on near Sedona West. Anybody here on that item? All right, the next item is SPP 24-30. This is a re-subdivision of Parcel B, Point Clear Tennis Club. Anybody here in opposition to this item? Okay. All right, with that, I'm going to open the public hearing, and I'll read these off. I'm going to open the public hearing for CSP 24-31 Vertical Bridge, SC 24-55 Re-Subdivision Lot 1 T and K Subdivision, SPP 24-29 Madeline's Way, and SPP 24-30 Re-Subdivision Parcel B Point Clear Tennis Club. We've already reviewed these. There were no one to speak against these. I'm going to close the public hearing, and then we will take those plus the first three items, PER 24-42 Fair Oak Falls Phase 8 and 9 Extension, PER 24-46 Glass Road RV Park Extension, and SFP 24-18 Two Lakes Phase 1. And I will entertain a motion for those items.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay?
I'll second.
Okay, so Mr. Seibert has made the motion that we approve the consent items. Mr. Hamburger has seconded the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Consent is approved. All right, now we're going to go back to case number SC 24-53 Phillipsville Knoll subdivision. I'm going to open the public hearing at that item. I'll allow our staff to make a presentation, and those of you that signed up, I will call on you in a moment to speak on those.
So this is a request for a 5-lot subdivision. It's in Plan District 6. It is unzoned. 5 lots, the smallest of which is 6 acres. Things like traffic stays, drainage improvements are not required due to the small number of lots and the large size of each one. There are wetlands that they have shown with a 50-foot wetland building setback. And you see the location, Phillipsville Road. And this is the plat. So the conditions of approval, upload an updated final plat reflecting the potential wetlands on the southeastern side to match what is shown in the Baldwin County Parcel Viewer. There was some the wetlands right here just didn't match. So if they choose not to do a wetland delineation, they use our parcel viewer map, so it has to match exactly the 50-foot buffer. So when they drew this one doesn't match. The wetlands actually extend down like that. So it's a fairly minor thing, doesn't really affect the accessibility of the lot or anything like that. Correct the bearings and distances listed in the legal description, and this is something the right-of-way reviewers asked for. And the third, to address, we had a couple, an email that came in today. There's an existing driveway on Lot 3, and we would ask that it be clearly labeled as an ingress-egress easement and include the instrument number of the recorded easement. So I'll go back. This is right here. So there's another lot. Actually, let me get to the one where you can see all the lots. This lot here is currently accessed by that dirt drive. So the dirt drive will continue to be used as an easement, so this parcel would not be landlocked. So with that, we were recommending approval with conditions, and that's it. If you have any other questions.
Are any questions for staff? Cal, I'm going to need you to come up and help me with this. All right, no questions for staff? Is the applicant's representative here on this item? You want to come up and speak or not?
Only if I need to regarding the meeting regulations.
All right, well, just hang tight. We'll see. All right, I have, let's see, Charles Stewart, you want to speak? Come to this podium here. Just remember, you got 3 minutes to speak on that. I'm just going to ask, I have quite a few signed up. We just ask that you keep to the 3 minutes and tell us what you need and we'll, what your concerns are.
How many lots are going in there?
5, and this is the plat. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And like I said, the smallest is 6 acres.
When I heard about this, my concern was there's another development farther south called Dives Court, and there's all kind of problems with drugs, domestic violence issues, and that's why I was worried that they were going to put, back at Dives Court, they had 18 lots. So there's going to be 5 of these.
5 large tracts.
Are there going to be any limitations on how many trailers or domiciles are going to be there?
There's a limit. You can only put 2 dwellings per parcel throughout Baldwin County. You can put 2 dwellings per parcel.
So that's another 10 trailers in there. Well, that was my main concern, was how many was going to be there and if there was going to be any requirements on square footage to be built. Is there anything?
We don't regulate we're just regulating the division of the land, and the county has requirements on the number of units that can be placed, but we don't regulate square footage of the buildings.
Okay. That's about it. Most of my concerns then.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Arthur James.
First, I want to thank you for allowing us to speak. I knew before I came kind of what the rules were. I've knew it for a long time. I have a parcel of land, 62 acres, that joins this Phillipsville Knoll subdivision. I have had a lot of experience. When I worked for a nuclear power plant in Dothan for 32 years there, seeing real problems where there were mobile homes around land that belonged to other people. I got that problem in Escambia County today. It is just pathetic. When I heard about this, I talked to Mr. Bird, who I've known for many years and who came from very fine families. And it seemed that he wasn't very happy with my thoughts on it. because I am worried about the value of my property, or if I ever want to build a house on it, to live around a lot of mobile homes. At that time, he didn't think there would be mobile homes. But now that has kind of changed, I understand. And I had hoped that these gentlemen would do the same as other places in our community, and they would make some restrictions that I know other people have made, that you couldn't put mobile homes on it. It would have to be houses, and there would have to be maybe one or two to the plot. And really, I got a very, very bad phone call yesterday that just was just terrible. So if there is anything that you can do, I don't know that you can, we'd be very grateful if you could give us some relief. I made investments, and I would like to, make money on that land. And I would like, if I want to live there, to have good quality neighbors. And I know in 30 years from now, if those mobile homes are still there, I know what the conditions are going to be, because I'm experiencing it in Escambia County, and we did in Houston County. Again, I want to thank y'all for talking to us, to listen to our concerns. I hope you'll think about it in other cases, if there's anything you can do. And I feel like if you can, you will. And thank you for talking to us and listening to our concerns.
Thank you, sir. T.J. Thompson.
Good afternoon. One of my concerns is if they break this up into 5 sections, what's to stop the guy from, just say he bought 2 of these and then he broke it up into 3 or 4 more? Is that possible?
Not without coming back before this planning commission, and he'd like to make us a new submission for a new subdivision and submit it just like they did on this one.
So he can't
just do it. He's got
He
to
can't
come
just break it
through the
down.
planning commission to get it approved.
Okay, because I know that some land sold right there close to it that it was supposed to be a 5-acre block, single dwelling, and there's 2 house trailers and a mini house on that 5-acre block. My other concern is because just down the road, a couple miles, they're building another subdivision type thing, and I was born and raised out there. Matter of fact, within a half a mile of where this is going in, and that bridge down there was built in 56, 57, and it's got a curve in it, and it's very narrow. And when you start picking up a lot of traffic on that road, I mean, I'm just thinking there's going to be a lot of accidents on that bridge, because it is one of the few that it's long and it's got a curve in it. But and they do have a right-of-way set through to the back 40, because I know a lot of people don't want to sell around there to give a easement. But so my main concern was that they can't break it up. They got to leave it in a 6 or 8 acre block, whatever it is. That's correct?
Again, they can't break it up without making application to the planning staff, and then if it warrants coming to us, it'll come before us. The only difference would be if they do a family division. There are some exceptions where, but they still have to make application to the county to get it approved. They can't just do it without that.
Okay.
And they're not asking for rezoning. So the way that property is currently zoned is a state size lot. So depending on if they wanted to break it up, they would possibly have to come for a rezoning before this board and the county commission. And then after that, another subdivision request. So there would be a couple of steps involved depending on what they wanted to do, other than if it was not just this.
In this
Would-
case, it's unzoned, so they wouldn't have to rezone it. I think there was a mistake in the original staff report. So this one's unzoned. But as far as the family exemption, when you have a recorded subdivision like this, you cannot do a family division in it. Once it's a recorded subdivision, that's no longer an option.
But if there's going to be a change, people in the community would be,
It'll be exactly like this. You
Yep.
receive notice, they do an application just like what you see tonight.
all right, thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Charles Smith? Okay. I had a couple of guys signed up that were neutral on this. Let's see. Marshall Lanham, did you need to speak?
Thank y'all once again for allowing us to speak on this. I live right across the street from the main entrance that goes into the property. There's the main road that goes in right now on the property through the hunting club, and our house would probably be in front of at least 2 to 3 of these properties. And I guess my concern would be that the more trafficking coming through and in and out of there. But you know, they pretty much answered most of those questions, and but that would be my biggest concern is the traffic coming in and out and up more and down through that road in front of our homes, and then also the property value of decreasing of what goes on the dwellings or the property itself. Thank y'all.
Okay, thank you, sir. Jessica Lanham? Jessica want to speak? Oh, okay. And then I had one signed up and, no, 2 signed up and John Bird? That was you? All right, did you need to speak?
I don't, if the staff have any questions.
All right, and then Dwayne Smith, did you want to speak? Okay. I'm sorry, Dwayne, I had you on, they're all together here, so I'm trying to separate them out. Sorry about that. All right, that's all I had signed up. With that, I'll close the public hearing. Ms. Mitchell, you got anything else you want to add?
I do not.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions on the Planning Commission? All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval.
All right, Mr. Mullick's made a motion that it be approved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Schemberger has seconded the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. This time we'll open the public hearing for case number Z24-47, the Randall property. And I didn't ask that on the others, but I'm going to ask it on this one. Does anybody need to declare prior communication on this item? Okay, Ms. Boykin.
All right. This is a request to rezone property from BCZ to B2 and RSF2. All right, here's where the subject property is located. It's in Planning District 15, just north of State Highway 104 and east of St. Michael's Way. It's located in Planning District 37. It is currently zoned BCZ, which is base community zoning, and it's being requested that it be rezoned to B2, neighborhood business, and also RSF2, residential single family. The property consists of 31.7 acres, and it's currently vacant. The rezoning is being requested for future development. Here is the locator map and the site map. You can see the property is surrounded by BC zoning and also RA zoning. Most of the adjacent land uses are agricultural or residential. There is a nearby RV park and also a few subdivisions to the south and east of the subject property. This is the proposed rezoning map. You can see the southern 10 acres is being requested for B2, and then the northern 21.79 acres is being requested for RSF2. Here's the factory summary that staff reviewed. This was a recently zoned district in 2022. Since this is a newer district, there hadn't been many rezoning requests. The subject property also falls within a mid-density development potential area, and it's also within the vicinity of an urban mixed use. The mid-density development area does support the B2 zoning and also single-family and two-family zoning from RSF3 up to RTF6. As stated, the property is located just north of 104, and it's about 1 mile east of the intersection of 181 and 104, which is a major activity node identified by the local provisions for Planning District 37. The local provisions state that higher intensity commercial uses such as B3 or greater, and that any residential zoning of RSF3 or greater shall be clustered at these major activity nodes to reduce the spread of traffic congestion throughout the district and lessen the overall burden of commercial development and higher intensity residential development further away from this. The requested B2 and RSF2 is a good transition from this major activity node, and staff believes this is a logical expansion of the adjacent zoning and land uses. Therefore, staff has recommended approval of the rezoning from BCZ to RSF2 and B2.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay. I have Joseph Thetford signed up as the authorized agent. Did you want to speak, sir?
I'm here for Robert Randall. I'll be brief. We believe that the staff report's correct, and I'm not going to go over all of that and the reasons that it's correct. I will say that Robert Randall bought this piece of property as an investment. We believe that the use that we've asked for is far more appropriate than the use that it has right now, the community preservation zoning. This is less than a mile from the major activity node, and the uses that we've requested are within the specific limitations that are for District 37. Robert Randall has no present intent or no present development plans. We're requesting the rezoning for future development, but we don't know what it will be now. I assume that, because I was here at the work session earlier, one of the issues that was brought up is traffic, and the owner, when any development comes forward, will have to comply with whatever regulations are in place at that time, including if there's a requirement for a traffic study or particular improvements in connection with traffic. So we'd ask you to recommend approval of this rezoning.
Okay. Thank you, sir. All right, I have Ben Gould.
I need your help with pictures.
Okay.
Can you bring up the JPG file that ends with 460? Up at the top. Ends in 460. Here you go. Okay, let's see what this area, I'm Ben Gould, 21735 Pillar Street. Let's see what this area really looks like. I wouldn't really call this a business district. It's completely rural. There is a major intersection of 181 and 104 down the road that has been designated by both the City of Fairhope, it's not in the city limits, but the City of Fairhope and also Planning District 37 have designated our area as not business. There's nothing business about it. It's all zoned RSF-E, estate, and RSF-2, and then just to our east is RSF-1, which has nothing to do with business zoning. Traffic is already pretty bad on 104 there, and this will greatly increase the traffic problem. Also, that property, the Randall property, has drainage issues, and I just wonder where that water is going to go when it rains. So these are my concerns. It's going to completely change the character of the area. I haven't seen anywhere in any planning, except for that one document that was passed by Baldwin County in 2023 that is a suggestion for zoning, but it's not regulations. And that's what was shown up on the picture. But I would please have you look at the rural nature of it. You can just flip through them, and you can see that's the high school back there. You can see that that is not zoned for business. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir. Gary Little.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Gary Little. I am the president of the Property Owners Association for the Verandas. I represent 115 properties that are adjacent to this land. We all bought homes in there as an investment too. With regards to the attorney that was up here representing the landowner, we have a substantial amount of investment that we're concerned about as well. This property sits adjacent to ours at the corner of two-lane highways. We have Lawrence Road, which is a two-lane street, which is south of this property. We have St. Michael's Way, which is adjacent to this property and runs north. 4 years ago, we didn't have St. Michael's Way, and neither did we have St. Michael's School. Now we have a subdivision with 115 properties that's adjacent to it. We have 12 other homes that are off of Lawrence Road. We all have an investment that we're concerned about as well. To the west of our property on 104, they've just developed a brand new parcel for business development. It's almost 30 acres. It sits vacant. And it sits right next to right behind the new Wawa that's being developed. Just north of that, there are about 400 apartments. Now, this property that's in question for rezoning has already been considered before this board before, and it failed. Why? Because they wanted to put apartment complexes in there. That devalues our property as property owners living adjacent to this property. So I saw on the screen earlier that they said that traffic wasn't an issue. We live there, and I can tell you traffic is an issue. You go there any morning when St. Michael's School is in operation or in the afternoon. We've already had 2 major traffic accidents at that intersection, and people have difficulty getting out on Lawrence Road in the morning and the evening. And in the morning, traffic from 104, 181 will back up all the way to the front of our subdivision. So I ask you and respectfully ask you to reconsider this zoning back to what its original one is. You guys made a great decision the last time. We're hoping that you'll stick with the decision that you made before, and we're hoping that the lawsuit brought before this county against you for the rezoning of this effort last time into apartments has not affected your present decision. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. AC Nunn.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, or lady and gentlemen, and thank you for letting us speak. I live in the veranda next door to this, and what the situation is, and I'm just be repetitious from what Gary said, the traffic is going to be absolutely horrible there. It's bad now because we've got that new development a mile from us with a medical center and Publix and everything else, and it's always bad. And what I'm worried about is the parents and the children of St. Michael's School, because they're going to have to travel that road every single day. And if that development comes in, it's going to be a death trap at that intersection. And what you all would have to do probably is go ahead and get the money together, whatever, and plan on 6-lane in that highway, because it's got to happen, because it's way too crowded out there now. But thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. The last person I had signed up is Peggy Wilson.
Good afternoon. My name is Peggy Wilson. I live at 10974 Catania Avenue in the Verandas. For 34 years, I represented the real estate interest of the electric utility company in Northwest Florida and was therefore always on the other side of an argument of where I find myself today. For the better part of 70 years, my company exercised its right to develop property however was needed to service the area and never considered the opinions of surrounding property owners. Most of the property was rural anyway, and we didn't experience excessive amount of opposition. However, in the last 30 years, as development crept in and rural became suburban and even urban, we discovered our old practices had to change. Property we purchased several years ago and holding for future transmission or substation use, for example, gradually became the worst place for a substation, but the need for the substation was even greater and was never higher. Countless planning and zoning boards had to tackle the problems you're facing today. What we all learned is that by working with the surrounding property owners, we were able to create something that was aesthetically cohesive to the area. Old design engineers learned new tricks, and with a little outside help, a new substation design standard was born. As you can tell, the Verandas has a strong HOA with proud owners who moved here because of the beauty of the surrounding area. We want to maintain this while respecting the rights of the petitioner. After all, it's not lost on anyone that we're living in what used to be a peanut field. By working together, we can set a high standard that can welcome development and not adversely affect those neighbors who have invested their lives here. If this development is approved, could this include a provision allowing the surrounding property owners to have some input into its look and design? Surely the board can see the benefit of creating a complementary development that maintains the property values of everyone. I promise you, if a power company that has been a monopoly since 1925 can do it, anything is possible. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, that's all I had signed up to speak. Is that right? All right, with that, I'm going to close the public hearing. Board, can you have anything else you need to add?
I do not, no.
Okay. All right, anybody on the Planning Commission have any questions, comments? All right, I'm going to entertain a motion then.
I make a motion for approval.
All right, Mr. Mulk has made a motion. This is a recommendation to the County Commission now, so they're making a motion to recommend to the County Commission that we approve, that they approve it. All right. Have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Mr. Fletcher has seconded the motion. So this is a motion recommending to the County Commission for approval. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
All right, just to be sure, let's do a roll call. Roll call.
Mr. Schamberger?
Yes.
Mr. Mullick?
Yes.
Mr. Seibert?
Opposed.
Ms. Burnett?
Opposed?
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mr. Waters?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion carries. All right, so you folks know, this is a recommendation to the county commission. It'll go to a future county commission meeting, and they'll have a public hearing at that meeting, and they'll make the final decision. All right, with that, we'll go to our final item on the agenda. Open the public hearing now for case number Z24-49. The Johnson property, which also includes a PRD 24-07 Bear Creek subdivision. Does anybody need to declare prior communication on this item? Okay, Ms. Rhodes?
All right, this is case Z2449, the Johnson property, and PRD 2407, Bear Creek. This is a rezoned request as well as a planned residential development approval for a 247 site residential development, and staff's recommendation is approval for both. The location of the property is east of Highway 83 and north of Kitchener Circle, as well as south of Gruber's Lane near the town of Alberta. It's located in Planning District 22. The current zoning is RA, Rural Agricultural, and the requested zoning is to RSF1, Single Family Residential. The total property area to be divided is 116 acres. This is also a PRD, and so the density is 2.20 lots per acre. The amount of open space would be 45.44 acres, and the amount of usable open space is 38.38 acres. In terms of a traffic study, it's not required for a PRD, but will be required for preliminary plat, and the traffic study will be conducted while school is in session. A wetland report was prepared by Keith Johnson from Wetland Sciences, and there are approximately 7.06 acres of wetlands. And then the Baldwin County Board of Education, an email was sent on October 29th, and they did not express any opposition. One thing I do want to note is that this request includes the rezone of PIN 61731 from RA to RSF1 and a PRD of that same PIN, as well as the adjacent property to the south, which is zoned RSF2. RSF1 requires an underlying density of 1.45 units per acre, and the adjacent parcel to the south, which is also part of this PRD, was rezoned just recently to RSF2. The applicant is requesting a composite density of RSF1 and RSF2, and that equates to the density I mentioned earlier of 2.2 units per acre. It is less than what's allowed by RSF2 zoning and is compliant with our requirements. Here is the location of the subject property within the county. Here's the locator map and the site map. The adjacent zonings to the north, east, and west are RA, Rural Agricultural, and the adjacent zoning to the south is recently zoned to RSF2, Residential Single Family District, and the adjacent land uses are residential and vacant. And here are the property images and subject property images. Here are the factors that we look at in a rezone request. Staff believes the majority of the factors have been met, other than number 5, which is questionable. In terms of the staff analysis and findings, if the requested change is compatible with the existing development pattern. So we see in the subject property images to the right that we have RA, RSF1, and RSF2 zonings with residential and agricultural land uses. Further south in the town of Alberta, we see residential, institutional, and commercial uses. And so staff feels that the requested change is compatible with the development pattern of the surrounding areas. In terms of a change of conditions upon which zoning was adopted, so zoning was adopted for this planning district in 2002. So while there have been few changes in terms of zoning, as mentioned earlier, the parcel to the south, which is part of this PUD or PRD, was recently rezoned to RSF2. The majority of the future land use for the subject property is moderate development potential, and as you can see circled at the image towards the bottom right, this contemplates both RSF1 and RSF2 zoning. In terms of the traffic, a traffic study is not required for a PRD as mentioned earlier, but it will be required for preliminary plat approval. And then a turnout permit would be reviewed by the county for turnout onto County Road 83. The proposed amendment is consistent with the adjacent zoning when we take into consideration the property to the south as well as going into the town of Alberta. Within the town of Alberta, we see R3 zoning, which is high-density single-family, multifamily, as well as mobile home park. And then the adjacent property to the south of the property in question for rezoning was recently zoned to RSF2, so we see this gradual transition from higher density in the town of Alberta, and as we move further north, we see a lower density requested. In terms of the PRD, some of the amenities that are provided include walking trails, a sports field, playground, pavilion, as well as pickleball courts. Here are the agency comments, as well as the agency comments from the town of Alberta, and then our comment from planning and zoning staff. Here's the sketch plan. You guys have seen the sketch plan for the parcel to the south. They are just expanding this PRD to include the parcel to the north. And here's their site plan, their landscaping plan with 40-foot buffers adjacent to property that is zoned or used as agricultural. Staff's recommendation for the rezone from RA to RSF1 is approval. And then staff's recommendation of the PRD is also approval with the condition that the rezone also be approved. If this PRD is approved, it overrides PRD 2406, which is rendered null, void, and of no effect. The parcels must come under common control before applying for the preliminary plat. And as mentioned earlier, a traffic impact study will be conducted during school hours. And then we have other information here regarding amenities and fire flow requirements. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, any questions for staff? Corey, you may not know. If not, I'll ask the applicant, but do you remember how many lots were in the original PRD?
I believe it was 132 lots.
Okay. All right, any other questions? All right, let me go down this list. Dwayne Smith, I know you represent the applicant here, so I'll let you come up and speak first.
Good evening, Dwayne Smith, Anchor Engineering, here representing the applicant. These two parcels were originally a single parcel owned by a family, and were only subdivided when the parents passed on and left it to their kids. So this is really a common parcel when you really look at it. But after we went through the zoning process and PRD process for the southern parcel, we were actually contacted by the sister that owns the northern parcel, and she actually asked that this parcel be brought into the overall subdivision. But with that being said, we feel like this is the transition that staff was really requesting, going from the higher density of Alberta to the R2. I know this area in the Flume is moderate density, which is R1 and R2. That's where we worked with staff when we brought the northern parcel in, or requesting to bring the northern parcel in as R1, adding a lot of green space, a lot of common space for residents. It's kind of, when staff shows subdivisions they'd like to see more of, it's more clustered lots with more green space. We feel like we've tried to achieve that, providing internal green space everywhere we can. Even though the only question mark we had was traffic, we have done a traffic study. There will be right turn lanes into each entrance to the subdivisions. There will also be some laneage improvement or striping work that'll be required at US 98 and County Road 83. But we'll fulfill the requirements of the traffic study for the impacts the subdivision is placing on the area.
Okay. All right, any questions for Mr. Smith? Thank you, sir. All right, I have a few signed up in opposition. Debbie Hale.
Hi, I'm Debbie Heil. I live in Alberta on Kleinschmidt Road, and my family and I have lived there all our lives in Alberta. I'm against this large subdivision for various reasons and concerns that we have, being that we live in this area and just not far from where this will be proposed to be done. And so I would appreciate you greatly considering the overall welfare and impact that it will have on our small community. My greatest concern and our family's concern is the lack of infrastructure that we have in Alberta to handle such a large subdivision or development in this area. I personally am not. I know that this farmland that we've had around us for a long time has been there, but that it will eventually be developed. But there are other options in developing that, and that the families can't possibly sell it other ways. But our biggest concern is for the highway there, 83, that being a main fairway into Alberta and near the Alberta High School, it's already extremely congested and backed up during school drop-off and pickup times. So make sure when it's studied that you take those times into consideration, because those are the very, with teenagers and high schoolers on the road as well. Alberta's infrastructure is not prepared for such a large development. The added stress and negative impact that a 240-site development will have on not only the water and sewer systems and the roadways and school system, but also for our police force and volunteer fire departments that we are concerned about. I know that you put into place things that are supposed to be taken care of there, but that's a lot of stress on that area specifically, going in and out of there. And add it to the in and out of what will be taking place, and especially in that section. Please consider the adverse impact and effect that such a development will have on the health, safety, and welfare of our small community. And I ask that you'll consider strongly what's been presented before you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Tyler Miller.
Hi, I'm Tyler Miller. I live at 14410 County Road 83. It's about a half mile up the road from this. I recently retired 5 years ago from the U.S. military after 22 years. I've seen this development type happen in multiple cities that I've been around. Small towns, as the military is there, we see these developments come in. You know, cookie cutter homes that are, you can share soap out your bathroom windows to each other, right? And what does that bring? It doesn't bring a lot. And in this case, what it brings to us is probably another 122, 130 kids to our schools that are already over at capacity. Alberta Elementary, we're using modular buildings. And we just converted our cafeteria into classrooms. Our cafeteria into classrooms because we don't have space for our students. Our middle school, 7th grade, 120 kids. We're about to throw another 122 school-age kids. Most likely, that's just taking national averages. My bet, lower cost of living, it's going to be more than that. It's probably going to be 150, 160 kids, right? Oh, you'll hear a case maybe. Oh, well, they're putting in new middle school. Oh, nobody mentions Summerdale's moving their kids to the new Alberta Middle School because they're over capacity. I've spoken with the Baldwin Board of Education. They have no plans, zero plans for any new schools in the Alberta area. Nothing. So what are we going to do? We don't have the space. Let's not forget about all the other buildings that are going in. We've got about 226 homes, I believe, going in on 98. Right over, I just lost my note, but let's see, school. 247, or excuse me. Where did it go? Sailor's Landing, 226 home sites. That'll be going in right by where the Veterans Yard Sale is at. In addition to that, we've got Sylvan Farms, 102. Balsam Creek, 122 on 98 west of town. Porches on Old Foley, they're still constructing. That's 105 homes. Pheasant Run, they just completed 80 homes. Field Crossing, 36 homes. Pines of Perdido, 66 more homes. You start doing that math. Where are these kids going to go to school? Where are they going to go to school? We don't have the infrastructure in place. We need to pause building and allow us to get our kids into schools. I know I got 35 seconds. Growing up, I grew up in a town that did this. We went from 16 to 18 kids per classroom up to 33 kids in a classroom because we didn't have the space for more classrooms. The Board of Education recommends 16 kids per classroom. We're not going to be able to do that. We're going to screw our kids in the future of this county. I would like to highly recommend you guys do what you did on the first one and deny approval of this. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, sir. Allie Dole.
I'm Allie Doyle. I am the property owner to the north and to the east of this. The skinny piece at the top, obviously, that is mine. This is going to flood us, regardless. I should have sent the email the other day so y'all could see what it did when we got rain, 2 inches. My driveway was completely gone. So this property is going to come to the south of me. Where's the water going to go? They say they're going to approve it. They said they were going to approve it the last time, or improve it, and they were going to flow it across the street. Well, that's a creek. Y'all denied it. I understand that. I went to the other meeting. They approved it. I don't know why, but they did. Now, they were supposed to do the road study. He said they did it. I'm not here to go back and forth, but County Road 83 has been closed. Y'all can look it up. It's been closed for a while. They said they're not going to open it back up to the first of the year. They put the road study out for one day, right after the road was closed. How is that done properly? That's not doing us right. I understand you have to approve it. You can't deny because they can come back and sue you or whatever. I understand that. But if you're going to do it, let's do it right. Let's do it fair. I want to see it stay. I want to see my family stay there and continue to farm. That's what we've done. Obviously, this side doesn't want to do that, and that's perfectly fine. It's their property. They have a right to do what they want to do. But there has to be a proper way. I just don't get putting all these homes in there. Yeah, they added roads. We all said last time they need more roads. It can't just be one loop. They need more roads. Well, we see they did. They added more roads. Where's the overflow parking? Y'all were concerned about that last time. Or do we have the overflow parking for all these houses? If a house catch on fire, is the fire department going to get in there to be able to put it out for overflow of the parking in the streets? I mean, these things add up. My property to the east, that's all woods. All of that's woods. Are you telling me one of these houses that literally butts up to that, if it catches on fire, that my 82 acres ain't going to go up in flames? What's going to happen? What's going to happen to us out there? Is our fire department going to be able to protect us? Police jurisdiction going to be able to protect me and my 3 girls? I mean, I get it's going to happen. It's supposed to be nice, and I hope it's nice. But I just feel like this is a lot of houses fixing to be crammed in to kind of a small space. And the layout of the land is very hilly. And I get y'all did the study and they say how much is wet and how much is not, but it is wetter than what they say. I've been there my whole life. So that's it. But thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Dwayne, I'm sorry to have you come back up when you just went all the way back to sit down, but if you don't mind coming back, I got a question. Not picking on you, but it seems like most of the developments you represent seem to be these small lots. You're the common, that's not a bad thing. You must be good at what you do to get the work, but you've heard the comments by this planning commission many times, and probably I've been happy with some of the decisions. I get it, because I've been in your shoes. But there's been a common element about parking, traffic in these these small lot developments. Have you guys, I never hear a recommendation. You hear our complaints, but I never hear a recommendation. And I'm going to give you my perspective. My perspective, I've seen them where they've done wrong, where they don't have any type of restrictive covenants. I've seen it where work vehicles are parked out in the street, food trucks are parked in the yard, within the cars have to park in the street, RVs are all over the place. So I guess I'm asking you, what do you see? Do you see something of this size having something that would assist? I don't see any parking anywhere for. And I kind of get that. You put parking somewhere, they're probably not going to go down the street and park and walk all the way back up there. They're just going to park in front of the house. I get it. What do you see, and what can you recommend?
In these common spaces, the green spaces, there are parking areas in front of them, and they could be increased in size pretty easily. As for keeping cars out of streets and cars out of yards and things like that, that would be handled through the restrictive covenants. The full intentions is this, when it goes to subdivision, would have restricted covenants that prevented those kind of things. Well, it has rules against those things. There's only so much you can do through restrictive covenants, and then it becomes enforcement. But as for set-aside parking, there is parking. We have no problem adding additional set-aside parking in places that make sense. You're correct. If parking's too far from someone's home, it may be there, but it'll sit empty and everything. So we're more than willing to listen to staff or whoever wants to provide guidance on places that we can add parking and provide other. Somebody's having a birthday party or something like that, it gives a place for overflow to happen.
Dwayne, you said the traffic study's already been done?
It has. And it was done during school. And,
I understand that, but, but the 83 has been closed.
I'm pretty sure it happened before 83 closed. I can verify that at the end of the day.
It'd be great if you could verify that. That's number one. What did the traffic study call for besides right turn lanes, or was that about it?
Here at the subdivision, it was right turn lanes on the south side of County Road 83 and 98. It was adding an additional, currently at 98 and 83 on the north side, there's through lanes in each direction and a dedicated left turn lane, I believe. Actually a dedicated right turn lane also. It's basically mimicking that on the south side too, because of the traffic coming up 83.
I'm going to jump in real quick too. We're going to have to take a look at that because we haven't scoped the traffic study. Right. So this is real premature for to have a traffic study at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak to what it says now. Obviously, with staff reviews, they may have other comments and ask for additional information.
Okay. How wide are the roads inside the subdivision or inside on this?
They'll be standard county 24-foot wide roadways.
Okay, I may come up with another one, but
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Smith? Well, going back to my question about parking, my concern is if we don't do something at the PRD point, it gets to the subdivision point, at that point, we have very little ability to add things beyond what was approved with the PRD. We're back to a subdivision. We can only enforce what's in our subdivision regulations. So, Dwayne, you're the representative. If that developer doesn't want to have restrictive covenants against things, when we get to the subdivision, then it's too late. We can't make him do something that's not in the regulations. That's why PRDs are so important. You get what you're going to get at the PRD because that becomes their roadmap for what they're going to ultimately end up with. So that's why I'm asking questions about, what are we going to do? Because this seems to be a common thing that we're seeing over and over again. And I hate to say it, but probably 90% of what we see is coming through your firm. And I'm still against them. I mean, you know where I'm at, Dwayne. I've made it clear on this. I'd rather see the developments with 80-foot wide. I have no problem with the zoning. RSF1's good. I don't know if I have a problem with the two. You've asked just for one. I don't know if I have a problem with two. They're 80-foot wide lots. I'd much prefer 80-foot wide lots over 60. But these guys are asking you to do these PRDs, to do these 60-foot wide lots, and when we do these large developments, I just see other problems. I know we talked about the common areas and the open space, and you've done a good job of providing that. So, but that's a part of the requirements in the PUD anyway. So, all right, I've said enough of my piece on this. Anybody else got anything?
I have a question. What amenities are we looking at with this development?
There's multiple locations where there's pickleball, there's a couple of pavilions, playground. I guess they're listed up there now on the screen.
This is what's a sports field?
So basically, it's a play area for kids, a large play area for the residents and stuff, which is a great thing. When you do have smaller lots, it gives a place for all the kids to go congregate and play whatever they want to play. It's Steve, to answer your question a little bit, I'm more than fine with, if you want to put a condition in your recommendation that you have a restrictive covenant that doesn't allow on-street parking or parking within yards or something like that. That is a reasonable request.
In my understanding, the traffic study has not been reviewed. Is that what is it?
That's right. So the applicant can do preliminary studies all they want, but when it comes down to them actually doing the plans, we'll have a scoping meeting for the traffic study. We'll set out the parameters of it and make sure we have an updated traffic count too. So there's going to be updates to whatever they have right now.
Technically, Scott, it's not required at this point. So
Right.
anything that Dwayne's company's done at this point, it was, kind of a preliminary thing just to get some count, but it's not the official one that the county's going to require at the time they do the subdivision. Diane?
I have a question, just a process question. It's two applications here. So one would be for the rezoning request, and then one would be...
We'll deal with them separately. When we
Yes.
get to that point, we'll make a motion for the zoning first, and then we'll do the PRD.
Well, I'm thinking, I don't know about zoning, but if we do recommend, could we table the PRD and then ask for, I don't know, parking areas to be defined? I mean...
So, Mr. Chairman, answering Ms. Burnett's question, there's not necessarily a problem with doing that, but because for the sake of coordination and simplification, it's always better to have a zoning change and a PRD appear on the county commission meeting agenda at the same time. So for the sake of simplicity, if there is a desire to table one, perhaps table both, That way they both, as a pair, go to county commission when they go to county commission as a pair. It greatly simplifies things, and it's so much less confusing when you can keep them together and consider them together.
I have a question. I guess I'm looking at what's on the screen with our amenities, and I think seems like the same slide that we see all the time. Are there walking trails in this development? A sports field you're talking about, I guess that's a play area or a common area for the kids?
Yeah, if you look at the greens.
Walking trails, is this just a generic slide, or?
No, he's got them shown on his site plan there.
Okay, so the trails are there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'll come on. What I'm really having a problem with is what we're looking at. We approved this RSF2 to the south. Now we're looking at RSF1 to the north. And I guess our lot size for RSF1, the zoning is good, would be 30,000 square foot lots, but the lots that we're going to be putting on here are 8,300. And I mean that's more of RSF4 type zoning instead of RSF1 type zoning. That's what I have a problem with. The minimum lot width says 100 square feet. We're bringing those down to 62 feet. And 30,000 square feet, we're bringing down to 8,300 square feet. And that's what I'm having.
Their trade-out is that they're going to maintain the same density and provide open space to offset the smaller lots, but not increase density over what would be allowed with the underlying zoning, which they are doing.
So with the composite density, you're gonna have a trade-off. Either you're gonna have smaller lots or less open space. One or the other. And then also, you've got, I think I saw 24 extra parking spots in close to the open spaces. If there's a way to increase those numbers for the extra parking spots, it looks like there's room, but I'm not sure.
By no means have we maximized available parking in those open spaces. I mean, if the answer was y'all would like to see X number of spots of available parking, we can fit them in. We've got a lot of room.
I don't think those parking spaces would be utilized if they're not scattered around that neighborhood. I think you're going to need additional parking that's reasonable to the houses.
Yeah, I think the parking for the common areas is what it is. There needs to be whatever makes sense for that, but just to throw extra parking in there for lots makes no sense to me, because people visiting 2 blocks over are not going to go park at the park and then walk back to the house. So just to throw parking in those areas for the sake of that makes no sense to me. And I'm not sure where you can put parking anywhere else when it's just lot to lot. There are no gaps to put parking in. And even if you did put a gap and put parking in, it would only benefit probably the couple of lots right next to it. 4 or 5 lots down, people being as they are, they're not going to park and walk very far to get to their, so that doesn't seem to be the answer to me. Y'all may see otherwise, and that's fine. That's the reason I was pushing so hard about keeping other things off the roadways that seem to create the clutter, the emergency access issues. And if we just say, and if he's willing to put something in there that they're not going to allow on-street parking, I'm not sure what that will do. It becomes then, it's not something we would enforce. I guess I never thought about it. If those are county right-of-ways and they have a restrictive covenant that says no parking on the right-of-ways, can the county enforce that? County Highway Department enforce that?
Highway, in their
If they say no on-street parking and they're on county roadways and they are parking on it, can the county do something about that?
I don't think that we could we can enforce the covenant.
You see where I'm going with that? They put it in there, but we all know how that works. They're in a covenant that half the people don't even read when they get it anyway, and so they just start parking on the street. So the only people that would really have anything would be some neighborhood person saying, hey, you're not supposed to do that, and I'm going to file us.
Yeah, because it's not an ordinance that we are going in there and enforcing, meaning a county ordinance, that we're going to send the sheriff in there to drive around and see.
I guess the only thing I was thinking about it, because it was being violated on county right-of-way, then maybe we had a little bit more opportunity to do something about it, but maybe not. I'm
not sure that.
Frank, you gonna have something to add to that? Frank's I mean, he's sucking me into this.
I can just speak to how we handle that situation now.
Okay.
Because that does come up, and so typically we start with some of our highway staff will go out and meet with a resident or HOA president or something like that, just explain why they don't need to be parking where they are. Normally that solves the problem, and we only do that for if someone's blocking a stop sign or if it's a major hindrance to public safety. If that doesn't solve the problem, then we do reach out to law enforcement and may get a deputy to stop by. But having firm teeth to enforce that, you are correct, Steve. We have very little leverage there.
Figured.
Yeah. See, but to me, parking is it's a symptom of the larger issue. And this is not in any way an indictment of Mr. Smith and his firm or anything like that. But the PRD has become the loophole to get around, and I said it in work session, we can talk about density, we can run the math, you can do whatever you want to. The bottom line is the PRD is the way to get around an 80-foot lot. It's the way to be able to have a 62-foot lot that, you know, they can pack in. Again, I know I'm not a mathematician. I know we can talk about the density, but whatever, you know, we talk about trade-offs and all of that. There's nothing in the ordinance that says what the amenities the PRD has to have. The trade-off is completely subjective. You know, they may put this down. Michael's right. This is a generic slide of what could go in there. But once the PRD is approved and it comes to subdivision, they could throw a swing set in one of the open spaces and, hey, look, there's the amenity, you know, and we're done. So it ultimately comes down to the PRD is simply a way to end up with a 62-foot lot. Granted, we get some open space, but I'm with Steve. I'm fine with RSF 1. I said it about Sailor's Landing. I was perfectly fine with RSF 2 for Sailor's Landing and voted against the PRD. You know, but these developments, and I have to agree with, you know, with Miss Debbie, Alberta's not ready for another one of these. Sailor's Landing is going to be enough. You know, and believe me, I am exceedingly disappointed that there's not a single municipal representative from the town of Alberta to come here and say this. I appreciate Ms. Werner sent her strongly worded letter, you know, but, and I'll reiterate it again, and I'll probably get in trouble for saying it, but the fact that the school board says nothing, says absolutely nothing. I understand that by law they would have to educate whichever kids show up, but the fact that they can't simply make a statement about the fact that it's going to add to 2 already overcrowded, 3 if you want to count the high school, 3 already overcrowded schools, you know, in this area, you know, is disappointing to say the least.
All right. Anybody have any other comments or questions? I think I did close the public hearing. So if not, it is closed. Ms. Rhodes, do you have anything else you need to add?
I do not.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with the rezoning of the RA to RSF1. So if you don't have any other comments or questions, I'm going to entertain a motion on the rezoning for this as a recommendation to the County Commission.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we deny the rezoning.
Okay, so you're recommending that we recommend denial of the rezoning. All right, Michael Fletcher's made that motion. Do we have a second?
Seconded.
All right, Mr. Seibert seconded that motion. So this is a motion recommending the denial of the rezoning. So if you vote yes, you're voting with that to recommend denial. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
No.
All right. Roll call. I think I heard it, but I'd rather hear it on roll call.
Mr. Schamberger?
Yes.
Mr. Mullick?
No.
Mr. Seibert?
Yes.
Ms. Burnett?
No.
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mr. Waters?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, so best I recall, we still take, no, we need to take action on, even though this.
It's just a recommendation.
Yeah, it's a recommendation. All right. We'll entertain a motion now on the PRD.
I'll make a motion to deny the PRD.
Okay, Mr. Mullick's made a motion that they recommend denial on the PRD. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Ms. Burnett, second the motion. Any questions, comments on the motion? So if you vote in favor of the motion, you're voting to deny this PRD. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. All right, that was the last of our items. I had no one signed up for new business, for public comments. Staff reports.
No, sir, Mr. Chairman, other than to thank the Planning Commission for all their hard work for calendar year 2024. It's our final meeting for calendar year 2024.
Thank you,
And
sir.
best wishes for the upcoming holidays. Have a very Merry Christmas, very Happy New Year.
Legal counsel.
Next staff reports. It's been a busy year, and I think this is the shortest meeting we've ever had. So
Yep.
That's not too bad. We made some major improvements, I think, through all the changes that we've had this year, and all the department has just handled it with extreme grace and patience, and so I appreciate that, and I hope everybody has a happy holidays.
Thank you, ma'am. I have one thing before we depart. I'm going to give a quick report on the last county commission meeting I attended. Most of you remember the property adjacent to Spanish Cove. The Planning Commission overturned our recommendation and approved that request. Then there was another parcel in Summerdale, the 450-something lot subdivision. They went along with our recommendation on that one, and there were, I think, 3 other items we recommended approval, and they approved. I'm going to say something, I may stir something over, but I'm going to say it anyway. At that meeting, it was said by a county commissioner that our meetings are mishandled. And I'll say it because he said it publicly, so I'm going to say it publicly here. I'm not sure I understood what he meant by that. I don't know that I agree with it. But I'm going to say this to you. I've been very open that if there's anything, and I take that directly to me, since I'm the chair of the meeting and he doesn't like the way I'm chairing the meeting, he said I mishandle the meetings. Now, if he meant it otherwise, he'll have to say so. But I'm going to say to you, if you think that I'm doing something that I can improve on, I've been very open about you suggesting that to me. I'm going to give you another option. Next month, we elect new officers, I believe. I would gladly turn over the gavel to anybody in this group and willingly, in fact, would ask you over the next month to think about somebody else. It doesn't always have to be me. Don't pick me just because I've been doing it. I would gladly let somebody, I would love to actually have the opportunity to make motions and vote. I don't get that opportunity. You guys never tie on anything where I can cast the tie-breaking vote. So I never get to vote. I've been thinking about changing that because our bylaws do allow me to vote if I choose to do that. I just haven't done that yet. So please, at next month's meeting, if you want to let somebody in, it might be good to have somebody else do it, to have the experience of doing it, and maybe you'll do it better than I, and the commissioner will be happy. And with that, just remember next month we're electing new officers. Okay? Yes, sir.
I just want to say that I was at that meeting also, and I was not happy with the comment that was made, and I'll just leave it at that.
Well, it was directed at me, and I would say I'm not happy. I just, I disagree, but that's between he and I. But that's neither here nor there. I think that we accomplished what we need to accomplish. Everybody gets to speak at the meeting. It's controlled. I admit we have made some changes. Thank you, staff. I think the timing of the public's comments, I think we've restricted return comment. So I think we have done things to improve it over time. But he sure made it sound like it was still mishandled, so I'm not sure what that means. But so if you got any suggestions, talk to me. I'm pretty easy to talk to, I think. With that, we are now, just keep in mind our January meeting, because of New Year's, is the 9th, not the 2nd. So that's our next scheduled meeting is January the 9th. So does anybody have anything else? Merry Christmas to everybody. Hope you have great holidays, and we'll see you 1st of January on the 9th. We are adjourned.